So the first hint is to draw the triangle. Then we are going to, figure out midpoints. So step 1, draw the triangle. Step 2, midpoints. And for that, I'm going to recommend counting on the graph as much as possible. You can also use the formula. So if I were to count the distance from this point to that point, I can see that this whole distance is 12, right? So half of it would be at 6, which is right there. So there's the midpoint. Now, and I can draw right here, this line right here is 2 things. So first I can see that it's perpendicular. So from here up to here, that is also a perpendicular bisector. So I'm going to just put an arrow to remind myself that's a perpendicular, that upside down T with a triangle, bisector. It's also an altitude. It's also a median. So that has a lot of purposes there. Then I want to find the midpoint of these two. So this one and that one. And how I want to do it is I can see that the distance from the midpoint over here, that this distance is 6, and then this distance is 8. So the midpoint's going to be half of both of those. So half of 8 is 4. So up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can come over, and this right here should be the midpoint. And I can check because half of 6 is 3, and it goes over 1, 2, 3. So yes, that's the other midpoint. And I'm going to label that one. So that's the point. Let's see. It went over right 4, and it went up. Right 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, right 4 and up 6 is what it did. Step 3. If you wanted to use the formula, that was the x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Now I'm going to find the slopes because I am going to want to find perpendicular, and I can use all the information that I have right here. So slopes I'm going to do in blue. Slopes. So I'm going to focus on this line because it's the positive one, and that's what I want to do. So for this line, I can see that this line, first of all, it has a negative slope. And to get from the left point to the right point, do you see what I'm pointing at? The left point to the right point, I would have to go down 8. So I'd have to go down, or negative 8, and then right 6. And if I simplified that using decimals, I'd get negative 4 over 3. And then the other part of the slopes that you want to find out is the perpendicular one. So the perpendicular slope to negative 4/3. So it would be the opposite. So the opposite of negative is positive. And then we flip this. 4 over 3 is going to become 3 over 4 is the perpendicular slope. Step 4. I'm going to do it in what color? I'll do it in green. Step 4, once you have the midpoints and you have the slopes, so you have the midpoints, you have the slopes, then we're going to find equations. And the reason why we're going to find equations is to have Desmos help. Or you can do it algebraically. But either way, you need the equation. So we want the equation of the perpendicular bisector of this segment right here. So we have the midpoint already. What we're going to do is we're going to put all the information that we need into y equals mx plus b. So we're going to using the midpoint and the perpendicular slope. So we're going to have the y was 6, the m was 3/4, the x, right, because that was our slope from up above, that was our, that right there, 3/4, and then our midpoint was the 6, came from the 6, came from the midpoint, and now the 4 is coming from the midpoint, and we need to solve for b. So 3/4 of 4, those 3 4's cancel out, so it's going to be 6 is equal to 3 plus b. So 3 is equal to b, which means our equation is y is equal to 3/4 x plus 3. And we can graph it. So on this graph, here's the 3. Right? That's where we start the graph. Remember, we start step 1, start here. And step 2, we're going to follow the slope. So if I started right here on the graph, then my slope is 3/4. So I go up 3 and right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hey, good, it does connect. That means I did it right. Yay. But now, so now step 5. I'm going to find the intersection. One thing I forgot to do with this perpendicular line is say what that equation was. So I should add that to my equations. I'm going to say this other line, this vertical one, and yours on the test is going to be horizontal, I believe. Yep, it is. So the perpendicular slope is x equals 1. So we want to find the intersection between the x equals 1 and y equals 3/4 x plus 3. So we can use Desmos and put that in and graph them and find out where they cross. I showed that in class. So you can find the intersection. I'll just put here. You can use Desmos. Or you can just put the x in place, the 1 in place of that. So y would be 3/4 times 1 plus 3. So 3/4 plus 3 would be the same thing as, so 3 would be 12/4, so that they would have the same like term. But you can, again, use Desmos to find that part out. And we would get the 15/4. So our intersection is going to be at 1, 15/4 for number 3. But these same equations we're going to use again for other parts. So this is all what we did right here was all for number 3. So I'm going to do another one for number 4. We want to do the orthocenter, which means altitudes. And we have all the information we need. Because in order to do that, we have the slope of the altitude would be 3/4, but it needs to go through the other point. So I'm going to put the point is the one that is over here. I don't know if you just saw me circle that. The point -5, 2 is what we want to go through. So we're going to write y equals 3/4 x plus b, but we're going to put in that point there. So replace the y with 2, and we're going to have 3/4 still, but replace the x with a -5 plus b. So I'm going to use Desmos to help me get that. So we would have, whoa, gotta wait. So we're going to do 3/4 times by -5 would be -3.75. Actually, I'm going to leave it as the fraction. -15/4. So we have -15. -15/4 plus b is equal to 2. So we'd add 15/4, add 15/4, and we're going to come back into here. Whoop. Come back into Desmos and do plus 15/4. Change it into a fraction. Whoa, is that right? Yeah, 23/4. Is that right? Just double checking. -5/2. Yep, that's what we want. So then we get that b is equal to 23/4. Is that right? We want that slope. We want it to go through there. 23/4 is 6 point something. Let's look on the graph. So 6, there's 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little bit. Oh yeah, that looks good, because then it would come through right here and be perpendicular to it, and that's perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so our equation would be y equals 3/4 x plus 23/4, and we want to know when does that, like, what is it when I replace the x with 1? So 3/4 times by 1 plus 23/4. Yep. So coming in here, and we can times by 3/4. We can do 3/4, times by 1 if you want to. And then plus 23/4. And we get 6.5 or 13/2. I'm just going to come, this equals 13/2. So that our next one, so this is the answer for number 3. For number 4, it's going to be 1, 13/2. And then, yeah. Now for number 5. Number 5 is asking, let's look and see. It says it wants to know the centroid, which means the median. And we already have that line, but we want to know where the point is on there. And so and then the centroid has that fact, like the things that we've been doing on the do now, right? So if we have this, and if this is the centroid, this would be like 1, and this would be 2, and then the whole thing would be 3, right? 1, 2, 3. But we want to know what the coordinates of that side would be. So we know from the graph above that the height of this triangle was 8. So if the whole thing was 8, and we want that thing, we want to find 1/3 of the way up on 8. Of 8 would be 8/3. But the line down here started at the line 2. So we're going to have to do 8/3 plus 2. So then the point would be 1, and then whatever 8/3 plus 2 is, which we can put in the calculator, right? So we can double check even. We can do 1/3 times by 8, and then plus 2. Change it back into a fraction, and we get 14/3. 14/3. Okay, hopefully this helps for those 3 problems. Okay, so number 6 and 7 for the test. So it says that FD, this little guy, is 5, but we want to know the whole thing. Well, AD is the whole thing, so we're just going to do 3 times by 5, and that's 15. So there's our answer. And then it tells us that BE, that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole. That's the biggest one. Is that, and we want EF, which is like the medium size one. So we're gonna divide this thing by 3, 15, because that's the small one piece, right? 15x squared plus 3y. We're gonna start by dividing it by 3. And then we would get x of 5x squared plus y. But then we want the medium length, so now we're gonna have to multiply it by 2. So 2 multiplied by 5y squared plus, x squared, dang it, x squared plus y. And we get 10x squared plus 2y. So that is our answer for those ones. Here, if you need that longer, pause the video and you can watch it. Okay, LN. So LN, let's just check. Looking at everything, since I have that this side is the same as that side, and I know that from this tick mark and that tick mark, and this angle is the same as that angle, and this one's the same as that angle, then those two triangles, like the triangle on one half and the other half, are the same. So that means that M plus 7 would equal 2M. And we just solve for M. So minus M, we get 7 is equal to M, but we want the whole thing. So ln, so that's going to be 2 times by 7, and then 7 plus 7. So 7 plus 7 plus 2 plus, and then we're just adding those, and we get 28. Or you can do it another way, but that's the same idea. And then MO, we decided that this was a right angle right there, because it would have to be if these two angles up here were the same. So it would be an angle bisector. It's a perpendicular bisector, a median and an altitude. Pause there.